Hi, my name is Rosillo, and I'm a full-time faculty member teaching Office Technologies in the Coast Department. Creating rubrics makes our grading life easier. It also serves as a cool tool to help us grade in an equitable, non-biased way. More importantly, it demystifies for the student what the professor's looking for. Let's get started designing a rubric. One approach is to start by deciding how many points your assignment is worth in total. This assignment is going to be worth 15 points. I suggest you create a table or a document that includes key points that you're looking for. Then decide how many grading points each of those key points is worth. 6, 5, 4, for example. Finally, create your sliding scale, assigning points for complete and for partial amounts of work. To add the rubric, once you've created your document, you're going to go into the discussion question or the assignment that you've created that you want to add the rubric for. And at the top right of that assignment, you're going to see the settings icon or the burger, the little three dots there. We're going to go ahead and click on that, and we see lots of options, including Show Rubric. When I click on Show Rubric, you're going to see from there the Add Rubric option. I'm going to click on Add Rubric. And in Canvas, you're given a default 5-point rubric. You can either use that rubric or you can click on Create a Rubric. We're going to go ahead and click on Create a Rubric here, and we're going to tailor that rubric for our needs. So I'm going to click on the little pencil icon to edit this rubric that exists inside of Canvas. From there, where it says Title, I'm going to put in the type of rubric that I'm using here. I like to tell myself, because this is for me, how many points this rubric is and then what I use it for. So this is going to be a 15-point discussion. From there, I'll start adding the criterion that I'm going to use as I'm grading my students. I click on Plus Criterion, and I'm going to click on New Criterion here to start including the types of information that I want my students to know I'm grading them on. So in my document, I'm going to go ahead and take my first criteria here, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut and paste it into the description box, right? It's really easy once you've typed it up. And then the rest of the information, including a more or a longer sort of a description and the sliding scale of points, I'm going to go ahead and also copy and paste. And I'll put that into the long description. And then I'll click on Create Criterion. And now you'll see here that I've got answered every part of the question as my second criterion. I don't actually want the first one here, so to delete any sort of criterion that exists inside of your rubric, you can click on the little trash can and it's gone. I'm going to click on Plus Criterion to add a new criterion, right? And then also a new criterion. And I'll go into the second thing and I'll also cut and paste that. So there that is, and I'm going to put my description, right, because the description is clearly visible. The long description, they're going to have to click a link to see, as will you. But it also includes our sliding scale here. So I click on Create Criterion, and there's my second criterion. I happen to have one more, so I'm going to click on Plus Criterion, and also again, New Criterion. And this one's going to be the peer response, and for me, peer responses are incredibly important when it comes to discussion. That's kind of one of the main takeaways of discussions. I want them to see what the other person is saying about that same topic. I want them to learn and grow and experience the same topic in different ways. All right, so I cut and paste, I click on Create Criterion, and I'm done with my Word document, and I'm going to go ahead and open up now my Canvas rubric. So here are my 3 criteria. Okay, everything looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and click on Update Rubric, and done with that. There's my 15-point discussion rubric. Awesome. All right, now when we go back into our assignment here, it doesn't look like anything has changed, but it has. And this is where I'm going to talk about the ease of grading for the professor. If I go to the top here to the burger, I'm going to go ahead and click on that and click on Show Rubric. Again, you can see from here, from your perspective, what the rubric looks like. When you want to start grading your assignments, you're going to go into the Speed Grader. In the Speed Grader, you'll see all of these student submissions. And you'll notice that for this test student, we've got the View Rubric button. And that's because I've included the rubric in this assignment. I'm going to click on View Rubric, and from there I see all of the 3 criterion that I included in this rubric, right? So if you were doing this for an assignment that had 15 steps, you could put a point value for each of those 15 steps and give them a clearer description of what exactly it is that you're looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and read what our student has submitted here. The student says, this rubric idea is great. Wonderful, student. Number one, this is my response, and it thoroughly answers every part of the questions that don't require peer response. Okay, well, let's see what I've got here. I'm going to click on View Longer Description, and it looks like, as I look through the sliding scale here, that 6 points. All questions were answered with relevant and thorough response. Oh, yay, good for the student. He or she gets a full 6 points on that. Okay, number two. Even though I answered all parts, it looks like one of my facts is outdated and no longer true. This will give my professor an opportunity to respond with feedback on research skills. Okay, now I want to show you something here. As we're looking at the longer description, it looks like one of the facts is outdated, right? So not quite true. So I can't give this student 5 points. Number two is I'm looking at these options here. A response was provided, but was not all factually correct, or only part of the question was answered. So it looks like this fact that was given is outdated, right? So I can't give the student 5 points, right? And it looks like 2 points best fits what the student submitted for me. So I was able to make a non-biased assessment of this student's submission here. But remember, the facts were a little outdated. This is my opportunity to give the student a comment or feedback on his or her submission. So I'd click on the comment icon here, and I'd say something about what they had submitted. If this was a question on processors, something along the lines of, the i5 is dual core, or excuse me, is multi-core, but it is no longer the fastest processor. Okay, so why does that matter? Remember to use your search filters, right? Maybe I had given them a research sort of component in the class, and I want them to go back and review that. When you are using Google, and then I could say onto their, including in their chapter 5, right? Maybe reminding them of where we had covered that. So again, it gives them a chance to grow, and it tells them where specifically they can go to fix this problem that they had. All right, so peer response, it looks like here I've got just 2 options, 4, 2, actually 3 options, 4, 2, or 0. This student did not submit a peer response. It is an important part of the discussions for me. So it looks like 0 responses is a 0 point grade. So I'm going to go ahead and include 0 here, and look at that. It says that this student now has earned 8 out of 15 points. I'm going to go ahead and click on Save from there. And one thing you'll notice is that even though the rubric has calculated the 8 points, it does not give that as a final score. It does give you some room there, right, for you to decide the final score. In my case, I'm going to go strictly by the rubric. The student gets 8 points, and I go ahead and submit that, and the student will be able to see what he or she earned on this, as well as see any feedback from there. Now, what I do want to show you here is an example of what that looks like in an actual discussion question that I use here. So here's a discussion question that I use for security and social engineering. I've got some instructions for the student at the top as to what I want them to do, reminding them that they have to respond to a classmate. An intro, I have them watch a video, and then I've got a 3-part question. Now, what I wanted to show you is that I'm doing 2 things here. I'm asking them to use professional posting guidelines, and I've included a link to the LBCC Netiquette page here, which I think is pretty cool. But I've also reminded them that they do indeed have a grading rubric that has been included for this question. Now, not all students know that, so I just gave them a little snippet here of what that looks like, and then just very simple instructions as to how to view that. Okay, I hope this has been helpful to you, and I hope that you're able to create rubrics that are well designed for your purposes and intents, and that help your students demystify the idea of how to get an A.